Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Davis. I'm the founder of the Rags to Riches community. I am highly unqualified to give you any advice about anything. I barely graduated high school. Do not like or comment on any of my videos, and please do not subscribe. Let's get to it.
The next advertisement that you're going to see is from Sandra Larson. I asked Crypto Twitter about a month ago for anybody who had a small business and wanted to advertise on my videos, please reach out to me. Sandra reached out, and this is her business. We all need to build resilience to adversity. Our nervous system runs the show. Anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and sleep issues can resolve through the practices of somatic techniques. Sandra teaches in her 21-day neural reset self-therapy training. If you guys are interested in that, please reach out to Sandra. That's what this next advertisement is going to be all about. Absolutely free to her. Did not charge her a thing. Good luck, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another fun-filled, exciting, intellectually stimulating session with Brandon from Rags to Riches, the founder, the CEO, the Supreme Ayatollah. Today, I want to talk about some important things. I want to talk about the truth. It's no doubt in anybody's mind that I'm a hex bag holder. And in my opinion, many people should be. Everybody should be hex bag holders. But the truth of the matter is there's a lot of people out there that won't be. And as much as I don't like that, ultimately, that's their decision, and that's fine. The thing that I do not like is people who decide that they want to lie, that they want to misguide, that they want to sway people away from hex with mistruths. This video is going to take some of the most common objections and most common lies about hex, and we're going to decipher them, we're going to dissect them, and we're going to talk about them logically. Again, this is not to onboard people. This is to set the record straight. Do what you will with the information that you're about to hear. So the first question that you always hear is hex a scam? I would answer your question with this question. For you trolls out there, for you people who think you know but you don't because you haven't looked, where are the hex victims? If you go to hashtag HexFlex on Twitter, and you talk to each one of those people, DM every single one of those people, and ask them if hex is a scam. Find me a person who's been scammed by hex. The next thing you're going to hear about, everybody loves this word, but they have no clue. I'm hanging out in Twitter spaces with a lot of different people from a lot of different areas of crypto. The word hex comes up, and it's automatically associated with the Ponzi. First off, nobody knows what a Ponzi is. They think they do. They say Ponzi tokenomics, Ponzi scheme, blah, 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 blah. Let me educate you. Definition. The term Ponzi was coined after a swindler named Charles Ponzi in 1919. Charles Ponzi, his original scheme in 1919 was focused on the U.S. Postal Service. The Postal Service at that time had developed international reply coupons that allowed a sender to pre-purchase postage and include it in their correspondence. The receiver would take the coupon to a local post office, and essentially they would exchange it for priority airmail postage stamps needed to send a reply. The Ponzi scheme relied on a constant flow of new investors to continue to provide returns for the older ones. This type of exchange is known as arbitrage, which is not inherently legal, but Charles Ponzi became greedy and expanded his efforts. Under the heading of his company, Securities Exchange Company, he promised returns of 50% in 45 days or 100% in 90 days. And due to his success in the postage stamp scheme, investors were immediately attracted. Okay, so that's like a red flag, right? The scheme lasted until August of 1920, when the Boston Post began investigating Securities Exchange Company. As a result of the newspaper's investigation, Ponzi was arrested by federal authorities on August 12, 1920, and charged with several counts of mail fraud. Ponzi's promise high returns that it sustains for a while by stealing from the principal of new depositors to pay the returns to old depositors. I'm going to say that again. By stealing from the principal of new depositors to pay the returns to old depositors. It fails when it can't meet its obligations. In HEX, interest comes from only inflation, which is paid to stakers. This is programmed into an immutable smart contract with no middlemen. In HEX, you mint your own rewards by interacting with the contract. You're not touching the principal of new depositors. They are not paying you. You're paid via inflation from the smart contract. No humans involved. Just like miners are paid inflation for Bitcoin from that contract. Stakers are paid inflation with HEX from that contract. Nobody else. It's just you and the contract. Pyramid scheme. You hear this sometimes too with HEX. You hear this in the chats. You hear this on Reddit. Just from people that don't understand what the hell they're talking about. Pyramid scheme. It has multiple levels. It tends to put many middlemen between the product and the user. And often it has a weak retail sales and strong sales of its retail or reseller package. HEX has no referral program currently. HEX has no middlemen. In HEX, you mint your own rewards just like Bitcoin miners do. Was there a referral program initially? Yes, for 1 year. Was it a pyramid scheme? No. Pyramid schemes require multiple levels. Also, you're being paid by the smart contract, not from the levels of others. Very, very important. In order to skirt regulatory issues, and this is important too, sometimes products within pyramid schemes, sometimes products are offered to create a falsehood of legitimacy. It's important to know too. So interest paid by HEX. Remember that time you took out a loan from your bank? You thought that the money you borrowed was culled from the deposits of other customers? The interest you paid on the loan balance added up as a perfect source of revenue for the bank, part of which they repaid back to those deposit makers. Banks do not lend deposits. They create the money for loans by simply crediting your account. Your money is a liability, not an asset, and they lend out the government's money. Banks don't lend out the money you deposit. They lend out the inflation the government gives them for nearly free with your deposit as an excuse. Your deposit is a liability to them, not an asset. Banks can also pay interest on your savings in exactly the same way. They can credit your account with the interest without ever having to find the actual money. The reason they want to attract deposits is because if two people are at the same bank and they make a transaction, the bank does not need to use any reserves. They can simply swap the debt from one account to another account. Isn't that crazy? When transactions occur between two different banks, they total the amount of transacted at the end of the day through a process called clearing, and only the net value need be transferred from one to the other. Your money is a liability and not an asset. Banks don't lend out the money you deposit. They lend out the inflation that they get from the government. In fact, that inflation, it's almost free or very, 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 very small. And they use your money as collateral for those loans from the inflation from the government. With HEX, it's pretty simple. Your interest is given to you directly via smart contract in exchange for honoring your time lock commitment. Similar in function to traditional certificates of deposit. And it inflates at about 3.69% per year. Inflation is paid to stakers. No middlemen, only interaction between the contract and a human. That's it. People like to ask, well, why would I invest in cryptocurrency? What if the internet goes down? What happens then? If the internet goes down, we will be forced to use paper maps to find things in our world, which means anyone born after 1995 will be at a supreme disadvantage for valuable resources as our world adapts. because they don't know how to read. They know how to watch TikTok. For the everyday person, some cell phone services and text messaging would be available. All mobile apps and social networking sites would be down. Cloud storage would be inaccessible. Any pending electronic payments would fail. Some television programming that is sent via broadcast towers would still be accessible via an antenna, but most digital channels would be lost. Any electrical grids that operate on a smart grid would fail, causing power outages on top of the internet outages. Banking goes down. Hospitals reliant upon medical records become crippled. Analog processes non-existent. Utilities collapse. Short answer, your money, whether in crypto or traditional finance, is screwed. So if the internet goes down, the whole world's screwed. Okay? It's not just Hex. It's not just your crypto portfolio. It's like everything. It's the end of the world. So that's a pretty easy way to answer that. Will governments make crypto illegal? Yes. In fact, they already have, but they can't stop it. Now look at this side. Take the United States. In a lot of the Western countries, trillions of dollars across the world has been poured into cryptocurrency. All the major banks and institutions have invested. Many of these banks and institutions have gone through back channels to ensure that the investments will be safe. Do you really think a bank that has been around for 150 years doesn't have enough connections in governments worldwide to be able to have like a backdoor conversation? Listen, man, we want to get some Hex, we want to get some Bitcoin. I mean, are we going to be is this going to be an issue for us? Is it going to tank? This is how we build our business. Come on, good old boys club. Let me know what's up. Do you really think they're going to invest in Bitcoin if they think that there's going to be massive regulatory pressure that makes crypto illegal at large? No, we got to use our brains here. They have underhandedly verified as such with their respective governments. US SEC has ruled crypto not a security, and the CTFC has ruled Bitcoin a commodity. The Financial Crime Enforcement Unit for the U.S. has ruled that it is not illegal to use crypto for payment. It really seems that it's here and entrenched to say, and if you hear people that continue to say that it's all going to zero, Bitcoin's a scam, cryptocurrency's a scam, etc., you need to stop talking to them about financial advice. You need to stop doing that. And I'm talking about that person that you've been with for 20 or 30 years, has helped build your portfolio from $100,000 to $1 million, which, by the way, is chump change in the crypto world. You really need to find out, and you really need to do some soul searching and determine whether or not that's the person that you want to talk to about financial advice moving forward, because they need to know this stuff. Everybody's afraid of quantum computers because they're afraid that they're going to be able to hack the encryption. And it's silly because nobody ever thinks, oh, if a bad guy gets really good technology, aren't the good guys going to upgrade their technology too? Well, yes. But that's never, logically speaking, our minds should go to that point, but it never does. So yeah, there's going to be some negative fallout initially if this, the first couple people who find this, but it's, we're going to upgrade our systems. We're going to have quantum cryptography. So it's not something I think we need to worry about. What is Hex backed by? Well, here's a question. How is the US dollar able to inflate 70% in the past 2 years based on the previous 70 years? What's the US dollar backed by? What was Bitcoin backed by? Right? Nobody asked that question to Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin backed by when it first started? The only thing that matters with cryptocurrency, the only thing that matters with Hex or anything at large, what is user A willing to pay for it? And then what is user B willing to pay for it after user A? And then a market is created. I would contend that Hex is backed by the market of people that use it, that trade it, that use it as a store of value. Okay? So you gotta ask these questions of other things in your world before you start throwing stones at Hex, because you're not going to be able to answer those questions for anything in cryptocurrency if you don't understand how markets work. If Richard Hart dies, who's the founder of Hex, what happens? Hex is here to stay forever regardless of Richard Hart. This is a decentralized project that runs via smart contract. Once you let the cat out of the bag, once you let the tiger out of the cage, it's gone. You can't stop it. And no matter what happens to Richard, God bless his soul, thank you so much for this incredible invention. Hex isn't going anywhere, folks. It doesn't matter. It's not centralized. It doesn't depend on a third party. It's a smart contract, decentralized to the core. It's incredible. What's a use case for Hex? Everybody says, well, what's Hex's use case? Or what's this project's use case? Blah, 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 blah. So what is a use case? A use case is a description of the ways in which a user interacts with a system or product. So what is Hex's use case? Hex is a store of value. When you say those words, store of value, people's minds just can't comprehend that. They can't comprehend it. Oh, you mean it doesn't solve this world problem, and it doesn't solve that world problem, and it doesn't have this product, and it's not building homes in third world countries and blah. It doesn't matter. What does a certificate of deposit do? What's a certificate of deposit do? Makes you money. You earn interest. You lock your money up for 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, and you earn money. Guaranteed interest rate, right? Well, how come that can't exist on the blockchain? It's a store of value. It's not a use case. It doesn't provide anything to the world. You keep hearing that. Do you guys remember Bitcoin? Do you guys remember the argument prior to 2017 about how Bitcoin was going to provide value to the world? And there were two basic camps. It was either a medium of exchange or a store of value. And everybody was, oh, it's going to be a medium of exchange. It's going to be the new currency. We're going to be able to transact dollars in, dollars out, blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't the case. Coin has definitely showed itself to be a store of value at this point. Use case for Hex is a store of value. And it kicks Bitcoin's ass violently when it comes to performance. And don't take my word for it. Look up the chart. Go to lookintohex.com. And look at the ROI since days of inception from Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Hex. And see what Hex is doing compared to those. So, just something to know. Is Hex all wash trading? Here's the really, really cool thing about wash trading. Traditional finance is kind of hard to track down. In terms of DeFi, Hex is primarily traded on Uniswap, where all trades are publicly viewable. Hex has a transparent trading environment by being on decentralized exchanges. Hex has more transparent trading than most coins, which are traded on untrustworthy centralized exchanges. It's pretty much common knowledge that all these centralized exchanges participate in wash trading. With Hex, everything is on chain. You can see every single wallet, everything that it does. It's the most transparent system in the entire world ever to exist in terms of finance. It's all there for you. All of it. Hex has no roadmaps. Hex has no partnerships. Why would Hex have a roadmap if it was launched 100% complete from day one? What roadmap do we need? It was launched as a fully complete project from day one. There was no beta, there was no test, nothing like that. Launched full. In partnerships, there are no buildings of people working around the clock, which means there's no overhead and there's no selling down the price to pay for those people and to pay for those resources to pay those buildings. They're all negative externalities. We aren't like Bitcoin companies who have to sell their Bitcoin quarterly to pay for business overhead. It's not like that. That's the beauty of Hex. It's beautiful. Everyone that goes full-time crypto becomes a net seller instead of a net buyer. It's because they have to support themselves. That's how it is. Hex is a completed product, unlike 99% of crypto. So therefore, we don't need a roadmap. Ladies and gentlemen, that was just a couple of the objections that you're going to see. A couple of the objections that you're going to hear. I'm not here to try to show you Hex. I'm just here to make sure that you understand what the truth is. Okay, if you go to hex.com, you can go to hex.com and you can click on the tab scam, and a lot of these arguments are going to be in there. And I'm just providing it to you in a bite-sized way. If you do have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I will be 100% happy to help. As always, stay frosty. Brandon out.